It was time to share it. Time to break up the fat cat party.
Well. I've been waiting for you guys. If you don't mind, I'll dig right in.
This was the boys' club. These guys are the big-time traders. They don't look so tough now.
Got a list here. Mark Patterson, Hank Paulson, Ed Liddy, William Dudley, the two previous heads of the Federal Reserve, the head of the New York Stock Exchange, the head of the World Bank, and the heads of the Canadian and Italian National Bank. All these people have one thing in common. They all work for Goldman Sachs. Now, gentlemen, come on. You're going to sit here and look me in the eye and tell me there's not a conspiracy or at least a conflict of interest going on here?
Well, if you're going to have one company that all those people are going to come from, my guess is that company is attracting the sharpest talent that there is out there. I would imagine that Goldman Sachs is hunting for the best people.
None of the other firms would have that type of quality person.
A lot of other firms are.
Why would they all fall? Come on, man. Don't give me the BS. How can they all fall from the same company?
Let's put it into perspective. Goldman Sachs would be like a premier college football program. The NFL comes in and picks the brightest and pays them the best.
Yes, and I'll counter that by saying, does the same college football team win the national title every year? No. In 2008, the worst year of the financial crisis, right? The chairman of Goldman Sachs makes $42.9 million that year. Yet Goldman as a company only paid $14 million in taxes. Guys, where do I find your tax man? And how in the hell do you keep internal revenue off your back? If I filled out a tax return that was anywhere close to being as obnoxious as this is, internal revenue would have my ass down there, and I'd be telling them how much my wife pays for shampoo. How these people on Wall Street sleep at night.
Believe me, I was just getting warmed up.
Coming up, Jesse Ventura body slams the Wall Street bully boys.
Crap, it's the same job whether you're managing $1,000 or $1 trillion. You're just working with a different decimal point.
And look who's joining in the pileup.
The burning of Rome.
Journalist Matt Taibbi are squaring off with a group of Wall Street insiders. Traders from top firms, self-proclaimed masters of the universe. The ones who managed to profit even after the market collapsed on the backs of American taxpayers.
But I'm still coming after you guys for sitting there and taking $40 million bonuses when this country's in a huge recession. People are losing their homes. They can't pay for nothing. How someone at Goldman Sachs can take a $40 million...
Maybe we shouldn't have been...
Most money on earth.
Bullcrap. It's the same job whether you're managing $1,000 or $1 trillion. You're just working with a different decimal point. All it is numbers on a paper.
You know what I take offense to? I'm getting very offensive as a New Yorker. That you think the chairman of Goldman Sachs getting $40 million is a lot of money when a shortstop for the Yankees gets $30 million. You don't think his job is 5 million times more important than A-Rod's?
The problem is the taxpayers pay for it.
Right, the Yankees isn't getting paid by the U.S. taxpayer.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just standing here overhearing this conversation.
I asked Ross Mandel to stop by. Wall Street's got to be the only place where the guy facing swindling charges can lecture the big shots about ethics.
What did it cost this country, this nation, Americans, for this corrupt conspiracy that is ongoing right now? If you think America is a super financial power, it was. I believe we're sitting around and we are watching the burning of Rome. The country has been eviscerated. It has been raped by the powers that be.
What did Washington do? It bailed them out. It propped up those banks. And why did it prop up those banks? Because it felt like those banks were necessary.
But were they necessary because they happen to be the biggest donors to the special interest thieves that we have elected in this country?
It's called public choice.
You can't blame Goldman Sachs for a system that's corrupt.
Why not, when it's Goldman Sachs' people who are working and creating the system?
Why didn't the congressmen and senators see your way and do it that way?
Because we gave them off.
They're all corrupt, as this gentleman will tell you.
Something happens. Goldman Sachs is bigger than the United States government, people. Stop being so naive.
Forget about new laws and regulations. Forget about lessons learned. Greed's the game here.
Hank Paulson had a salary from Goldman Sachs in 2006 of $38 million, and the next year he becomes the Secretary of the Treasury. My goodness, I guess he just felt it was time for some public service after he made $38 million.
Lucky timing.
Lucky timing that he became available.
During the AIG bailout is on the telephone with Lloyd Blankfein constantly, and Goldman Sachs ends up with $13 billion to the AIG bailout. You don't think that's a conflict of interest?
Let's be real. That's the U.S. government's fault. You have to create laws to prevent this.
What you're telling me is that you have no conscience, and that it's up to us to create laws to keep you from doing what's right or wrong. It's up to you people to realize it ain't your job to go out and rape and pillage. When I look at bonuses like this, that's obscene.
You have to change the system.
We know that. You're speaking to the choir here. You're talking to the independent. I know the system's screwed, and you all work in it like thieves in the night because you profit from it. There's no risk when you know the federal government's waiting to bail you out. Hell, I'd love to go to Vegas and be able to sit down at Charles Barkley and Michael's table and be able to play 10 grand a hand as long as I know I got somebody behind the door that no matter how much I lose in this bet, he's going to reimburse me. So hell, let's bet. Let's get out of here. And I'll keep fighting for the little guy and kick your asses. Things were looking up when the Securities and Exchange Commission charged Goldman Sachs with fraud. But before you knew it, Goldman settled the case by peeling $550 million off its bankroll. That's what? 4% of what they made in the last quarter? And they didn't even have to admit they did anything wrong. And they got $13 billion in the bailout. Lucky for them. The head of the Securities and Exchange Commission's Enforcement Division is a former Goldman Sachs executive. Like we found out, no one on Wall Street or in Washington's gonna pay the piper as long as the taxpayer's picking up the tab. Is there another crash coming? I'll hope for the best. In the meantime, I'll be watching my money. I don't trust any of these crooks. I'm Jesse Ventura, and this is Conspiracy Theory.